Time for some mid-process update and some conclusions. For the time being, this is the camera, so the shutter has been serviced, it's back inside the crate, and everything put back on the top plate. This is how the top plate looks, and this is the only area that I did not paint. It was masked with tape because unlike a regular Zorki 4, it's a bit more tricky. It's a bit more tricky. You can't remove this thing, you can't remove this thing, you can't remove this thing, so I try to avoid the bits that could have gotten me into trouble. Alright, from a working point of view, the camera is working perfectly fine. I haven't fine-tuned the shutter yet, so that will be something for when it's in a more complete shape, only because I need to put back the winding lever and I'm not really interested in doing that and then take it off again and putting it back. This is the winding lever. I still need to paint like a little strip here and a little strip there. Those two lines are from the masking tape. I need to clean this. It's residue from the masking tape, and I will also need to, I mean, I don't need to, but I like to do that on the Zorki 4Ks. I want to round these two corners because they are fucking sharp, so this is bullshit. I will round them and then repolish the plastic bit, because obviously when I'm going to use the sandpaper, the surface will get a texture. Okay, this is the bottom tripod mount. This bit should be very shiny, but from all the spraying and stuff, there was some residue. Okay, so this is the tripod mount. This is the back plate. This one goes here, and this is how it's going to look. Some issues with the back plate. This is the body shell. All right. Let's do a live uncovering. Okay, a bit of masking tape that got over the actual edge that I will need to fix. And these are the screws. All right, so obviously it's very difficult to evaluate the paint job on the video. It's not really what I would have hoped for, or not really what I expected for. Now, for starters, I used very dark gray paint that was prepared to be like sort of a matte finish. That, at least that's what the guy at the paint shop said. It's a 9004 RAL code, if I remember correctly. And I also used a matte finish clear coat. Now, unlike the first black camera that I did, where the matte clear coat actually looked very matte, and even while spraying it, it was super matte, this one is not so matte, and it's the same thing. I bought it from the same shop. I prepared it using the same ratios, and I used it in the same manner, and yet It is not as matte as I expected. Also, the back plate has a very rough, like sanded look to it. I'm not really sure why. When I first saw this look, I stripped it all down again, and I reapplied the primer, reapplied the paint, reapplied the top coat, and it turned out identically. So it's the same. I have no idea why. So basically now I have a bunch of questions that I need to find answers for. Luckily, I met a guy today that apparently paints cars and knows quite a lot of things about painting, and I will abuse of his knowledge, hopefully getting further down the road with this repaint thing. Um, one of my conclusions is that my tools are not right for the job. First of all, my airbrush died during the second camera. Actually, let's say it got sick, like really sick during the second camera. It worked fine on the first one and the first lens, and somewhere during the second camera and lens, it started to work less and less good, or as it should. It started to clog more often. The rubber seals inside started to degrade. So this whole actually the solvent in the paint took its toll, and during this repaint I really struggled. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So my conclusion is that the airbrush is not suited for the job. It is not only my conclusion. I got this advice from other people in the business, let's say so. And okay, I didn't mean to contradict them, or to think that I'm smarter than anybody else, but I already had the airbrush because I didn't know better at the time. So I said, okay, I'm gonna struggle a bit more and we'll see it on the way. I think the struggle should end. So the airbrush, no go. First of all, the nozzle is too fine for this. So I think it has a 0.3 or 0.4 millimeters nozzle. Whereas a paint gun has something like 0.8 or 1.3 or above. My compressor is probably not, I mean, not probably, but certainly not good enough for the job. I mean, for a bigger gun. And my overall setup is not what it should be. I should have some means to extract all the fumes, all the vapors, because pretty much all the tools, all the metal tools I had in the shed are now covered in rust. I don't know if I said this in my first video or not. They all look like this. So it's like they've been, I don't know, lost in the forest for like 20 years. And it all happened in like 2 days, something like that. Now I need to find a way to actually uh, get rid of all that rust. And obviously, ideally you need to be in an enclosed environment so no dust and stuff can compromise the painting. And being in a very small enclosure, like, I don't know, 2 and a bit square meters, and that would make like 4 or 5 square, not cubic meters of volume. And when you start to spray, to atomize this paint and solvent in that little space, I think it's very, very, very bad for the health. No matter that I use a respirator, it's not good enough. I mean, I should have a mask that has a hose that gets me fresh air from the outside, probably, but I don't. So yeah, that's on my to-do list. Make an improvised DIY system of evacuating all the vapors. And for my next project, I will probably borrow one paint gun. Maybe I will buy a bigger compressor that can that could maybe also feed a sandblaster, and I will ask this guy that I met today for a good combination of primer paint and clear coat, and I will also get into more details on the specifics, so how to prep the surface, how to apply each coat, wet on wet, dry first, whatever. I, I don't really know what I'm talking about. He knows, and that's why I'm going to try to steal some info from him, and see how that goes. Because another downside of the airbrush is the fact that having such a very small and fine nozzle, you can't cover a big patch of surface in one go. So you need to constantly go back and forth until you get an even coverage. And sometimes you don't get an even coverage. Because of this, I have bits and pieces and spots that are not even. I mean, in certain lights, from certain angles, you kind of see that the intensity of the color varies, and I don't like that. While a spray gun that can make like a spray pattern this big should in theory allow you to go in one swipe. So swipe and you have one full layer. Also, being that big, it will cover two different surfaces that are at an angle, and that is also nice. That's pretty much it. So first conclusions after the third repaint, that kind of worked less nice than the first two. Probably it's all down to my airbrush dying. That's the only thing that was different. All the paints, the primers, the process, the sandblasting, everything was identical. The temperature changed. The first two, for the first two cameras, I had a decent temperature. It was like, I don't know, 18, 20 degrees at most. For this one, a heat wave knocked on our doors, and I only painted in the morning, so I could be at 24-ish degrees. But apparently it matters. I don't know about the humidity. I didn't measure the humidity. This is the top plate. I have some bits here that have a different intensity, color intensity to them. Also the shine is a bit different. And this is the shutter speed dial that remained untouched, and this is how it should look like on the camera. Well, I will need to get it over these parts because there is a warp in this top plate. Well, it doesn't matter. I will show you the end result next time. I don't want to scratch the paint or anything. And I will probably, come on, I will probably add some more conclusions, if I have anything else to say, in my next and last video of this series. And hopefully the next series will come with a big improvement in process, materials, and why not knowledge. Okay, see you next time.